In Haiti, Tzu Chi successfully distributes rice to those in need with the help of local volunteers. Malaysia entrepreneurs visit Master Cheng Yen and offer help for quake victims in Hualien. Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Siri Su. Thank you for joining us. Haiti is considered as an extremely poor country where many local residents lack food. In Haiti, Tzu Chi Foundation shoulders the task of giving out rice from the Council of Agriculture since 6 years ago. Although safety is a concern, with the help of police and local volunteers, order is maintained at the rice distribution venue.
The line has already spread throughout several miles before the distribution begins. This is the 6th year Tzu Chi Foundation hosted rice distributions in Haiti, bringing 380 tons of rice to help the poorest districts.
在太阳城或者是拉萨林，
Whether it's Sole or La Solane, they are all the poorest and the most dangerous areas, thus they needed the rice desperately. Every year we will come to these districts to help people in need.
More than 1,000 impoverished families have gathered at the school in La Saline district in Port-au-Prince. Happiness can be seen on their faces when they finally receive 20 kilograms of rice.
My family and I are all waiting for this bag of rice, and we hope Tzu Chi volunteers can come host another distribution soon.
There are 5 people in my house, and I have received rice from Tzu Chi for 3 years. I'm very thankful to Tzu Chi.
I'm very happy to receive rice from Tzu Chi, and I'm very happy. I really appreciate Master Cheng Yen and all of you.
With U.S. Tzu Chi volunteers' companionships, Haiti local volunteers are growing rapidly. At each distribution, there are about 100 local servings, from setting up to cleaning up. This had deeply come for the U.S. Tzu Chi volunteers.
当我跟他感恩的时候，他是用90度的。
When I say thank you to him, he gave me a 90-degree bow to thank me back, and not just once, but 3 times consecutively. So I truly feel that these local volunteers are so sincere and joyful from the bottom of their hearts.
怎么那么的发心，那么欢喜？
因为海地喝水的话都是小小的。
In Haiti, you need to use a small plastic bag to drink water, so there are empty plastic bags all over the distribution venue. The local volunteers pick up this trash immediately, and it has touched me deeply.
这样子发放的过程是非常的感动。
Carrying the rice that represents love from Taiwan to go home, at least local people are cheerful and happy because they know that they haven't been forgotten by the world.
Many of Hualien's earthquake victims have left the temporary shelters, but are still very grateful to Tzu Chi volunteers for providing them with Jingsi folding beds. A single mother who lives in one of the collapsed buildings has difficulty recovering her life, so volunteers brought 2 Jingsi folding beds to her rental place.
6 excavators hold up its arm in a row in front of the圆滿大米發放building to pay condolences to people who passed away in the earthquake in Hualien, eastern Taiwan. The rescue team and several bureaus of Hualien government hosted a worship ceremony together right next to the collapsed building, praying for the tear-down process to be smooth and also hoping the 2 victims can be found as soon as possible.
If we dig to a place where there are warning signals as well as warning zone area, we will first take care of the bodies.
It's very hard to tear down the building because it's 50 meters high and our excavators are only 26 meters high.
The tearing down progress is estimated to be finished by Lantern Festival, while most earthquake-affected residents are trying to return to normal life. Tzu Chi volunteers took out 2 Jingsi folding beds from the car and demonstrated how to put it together in the house. Ms. Chen was a resident at the collapsed Platinum Twin Star building who's also a single mother with a pair of children and a mother who had a stroke to take care of. She's lived in a shelter at Zhonghua Elementary School temporarily, and Jingsi folding beds were the most unforgettable to her because it brought her comfort.
It allowed us to sleep tight and feel at home. I had bed to sleep at Zhonghua Elementary School shelter, but when back to my rental place, I forgot I didn't have a bed.
Learning how easy and convenient it is to assemble and store Jingsi folding beds herself. With her recyclable blanket, Ms. Chen knows that she will have a good sleep tonight.
It's coincidental I saw her again today, and this is what we Tzu Chi volunteers are like, because we believe that to give without asking for return is our blessing.
Volunteers give joyfully because they want everyone to know that love can still be found everywhere, even in disastrous area.
In泉州, China, there's an 8-year-old Tzu Chi recipient who has hydrocephalus. Despite his illness, he's a very wise child who has learned Buddhist teachings. His adoptive grandparents spend their savings seeking medical help for him, hoping he can recover. 80-year-old Jiang Baole, who has hydrocephalus, has a swollen head. He was adopted by this grandpa and grandma. Although Baole was an adopted kid, the grandparents spent all their savings seeking medical help for Baole.
As long as we can afford it, we'll buy anything for him. When we learned that there is a cure for hydrocephalus, the two of us simply took out our packbacks to look for the doctors.
泉州Tzu Chi volunteers have been caring for this family since 2015. Jiang Baole, who likes Jingsi aphorisms, gradually smiles more.
赶快要多说好话，还有什么？你行好事，行好事，做好人，做好人。你看上人西宫上人那三好三愿，你就会很懂啊。
Jiang Baole brings joy to the family. Despite the grandparents' old age, they willingly take care of Baole.
He seems to help us on the path of cultivation. He seems to be able to learn Buddhist teachings with us.
Although Baole is only 8 years old, his words are full of wisdom. He has a grand wish.
After I can walk, I want to do good deeds and pass on the Dharma teachings. The most important thing is I need to get well first.
On August 15 last year, a shutdown at Datan power plant triggered a power outage throughout Taiwan. During this time, the power reserve capacity quoted by Taipower was only 1.9%, which is well below its target of 15%. However, some experts believe that Taiwan actually does not have a shortage of power. Today, we look at what needs to be improved as we learn more about Taiwan's power supply.
Here we are at the CPC gas metering station where a pipeline is delivering natural gas to the Datan power plant. With 6 units operating at max capacity, some 600 tons of natural gas are used every hour.
Natural gas enters our turbines, which is similar to an aircraft engine, and it converts it into kinetic energy in our generator, which in turn creates electricity.
This is the control tower of the Datan power plant, where we can see the total power generating capacity for these 6 natural gas units is 3,898 megawatts, which is about 1/10 of Taiwan's total generating capacity. Natural gas power generations is 2.18 NT dollars per kilowatt hour, which is 1.6 times the cost for coal, as it has been classified as second-line capacity for power generation. However, starting from 5 years ago, the reserve capacity rate of the entire Taipower has been on a downward spiral. By 2014, it fell below the target of 15%, making the entire Taipower supply tighter and tighter. In the past, nuclear power and coal-fired power generation had the lowest cost and were used as the base load by Taipower. The generating units were running 24 hours a day to manufacture electricity. This means that the higher price of natural gas meant that it was only used as medium load power generation. That is, when the whole electricity consumption is high, natural gas would be used for power generation. Accidental shutdowns of nuclear power plants 1 and 2 led the government to see a 5.5% loss of power by Taipower.
Now some of the basic power generation is converted to natural gas or renewable energy. Basically, we have enough base power production, but there is some instability, and this can be added to the base load.
明明是下午4点多5点，中和环球百货内部都是停电了，全台大停电，夜市也都遭殃。从北到南有的地方都。
The main reason for the blackout on August 15th was negligence. Taipower said another factor is that the reserve capacity of Taiwan's power supply on that day was only 1.9%. Due to the power outage at the Datan plant, which accounts for 10% of the total power supply, they couldn't produce enough power. However, some question if Taipower's bookkeeping is actually that accurate. According to statistics from the Ministry of Economic Affairs in 2016, the installed capacity of electricity in Taiwan is 49.9 gigawatts, but Taipower announced only 43.2 gigawatts, which is a difference of 6.7 to 8 gigawatts, which is produced by private power plants and municipal incinerators.
There is 8 gigawatts produced by private generating companies, which can be quickly accessed, but Taipower doesn't even list this capacity.
Taipower currently registered with the Bureau of Energy that there are 8.1 gigawatts in cogeneration. Of this amount, some 5.72 gigawatt of million cogeneration capacity have already signed contracts with Taipower, with 2.04 gigawatts in peak reserve power. When Taipower talks about a power shortage, this is because they want to build another power plant which can expand their operations and bring them more profit.
If you don't need power from cogenerate plants, then this extra power is a waste, but you can't discard it, so supply and demand have to offset each other.
Taipower said cogeneration of electricity is quite unstable and it can't be considered as part of normal reserve power. Electricity supply and demand has its ups and downs as high temperatures during the day lead to a spike in electricity, while at night when the temperature drops and factories stop working, demand falls. Many think that excess electricity can be stored, but this is actually impossible as Taipower simply produces the exact amount of electricity that is needed.
At a particular time, we see how much electricity is needed in Taiwan and we make adjustments to meet this need. And when it is not peak demand, we generally shut down capacity to achieve the right balance.
In recent years, the rise of non-governmental green energy is also to be handled by Taipower. Taiwan's solar energy industry is nearly all private and must sell electricity to Taipower. Today, we're visiting such a company to learn more about its operations.
We can see that today we have sent 221 kilowatts to Taipower, which has a price of 4.6 NT dollars. We have earned about $30 US.
In 2017, the third reading of the electricity business law passed, allowing private green power providers to sell electricity directly to industries and the public.
Private solar companies sell to Taipower at 5 NT dollars per kilowatt and 3 NT dollars per kilowatt to private companies as a way to compete with Taipower. This is the so-called first phase of electricity liberalization, but in fact there is not much incentive to allow ordinary people to buy from green energy providers who are not willing to pay more than 3 NT dollars.
Although there are few policies to encourage green energy, especially solar power, leading us to encounter numerous obstacles in implementation. This leads us to believe that the government has yet to fully support this industry with full set of measures.
Many are wondering when green energy will begin to flourish, as Taiwan is still 80% dependent upon coal and natural gas, which leads to a lot of pollution. Many believe that implementing more transparency is a good way to encourage the government, power companies, and the private sector to work together.
Around Lunar New Year, many overseas Tzu Chi volunteers return to Jingsi abode to meet Master Cheng Yen. Among them are entrepreneurs from Malaysia. One of them came to share his Tzu Chi experience, and another one has returned to offer help for quake victims in Hualien. This picture of Master Cheng Yen is very realistic.
He's working, just joined our group, so he's very good in this. Yeah. So I asked him to.
用相片，
就给他相片看呀，
就可以这样子，像不像？像。
This picture was drawn by an employee of this Malaysia entrepreneur's company. The entrepreneur has introduced Tzu Chi spirit to his company. He has adopted a vegetarian diet and canvassed for donations, deeply touching the hearts of his employees. He has brought his employees and family back to Hualien for a visit.
夫妻要互相互爱，所以这个你送他， 这个你送他。
Upon learning about the earthquake in Hualien, the entrepreneur has come back hoping to offer his assistance.
I want to come and pay my respect, and also because of the Hualien earthquake, I would like to meet Master. I want to give more help to Tzu Chi, and it's also good for myself. So I decided that hearing from all the other brothers and sisters that to be a commissioner, it is good.
Also coming from Malaysia, another entrepreneur has spent 2 years canvassing for donations and inspiring people's compassion. After being certified as a Tzu Chi volunteer, he has also returned to Jingsi abode this year.
有实业家回来
The entrepreneurs have learned about Tzu Chi and the fact that as they benefit from the society, they should also give back to the society. They've come to understand why they are so blessed. They've also heard the masters say that we should cherish our blessings and create more blessings.
The two entrepreneurs will be able to inspire more people to dedicate themselves to Tzu Chi's missions in Malaysia, creating a cycle of love. In Penang, Malaysia, there's a Tzu Chi care recipient who has been paralyzed and bedridden for 2 years. Her husband quit his job to take care of her. Since the patient has bed sores on her back, Tzu Chi volunteers brought a Tima doctor to clean her wounds and an airbag for her to use. To lessen her husband's burden, Tima also helps change her esophageal tube regularly. On top of that, a Tima TCM doctor also provided a husband with therapy to ease his back pain.
Tima doctors are changing the esophageal tube for Leong Wit Shu, who has been paralyzed for 2 years. Her husband, Lim Shu Yong, is whispering to comfort her.
People said it's an impossible task, but I'm the only one that can take care of her.
Lim Shu Yong quit his job after his wife was paralyzed to stay home and take care of her. It was exhausting, but he insists to look after his wife.
I haven't worked since May 2015 because I needed to take care of her, so I told my boss I can no longer work for him.
However, medical expenses gradually became a heavy burden for him.
I can basically eat anything, but she is more troublesome because she needs milk powder. We are so thankful that Tzu Chi has come here to help.
She can't eat after having a stroke, so she needs an esophageal tube to drink milk. This tube needed to be changed regularly, and the expense is higher. So now we started to change it for her from time to time.
Tima's arrival provided Lim Soo Young a chance to take a break.
Coincidentally, a Tima Chinese medicine doctor came along to provide therapy to ease his back pain.
Volunteers also seized the opportunity to invite Lim Soo Young to attend the year-end blessing ceremony.
I've never been to this kind of occasion, but when I heard the Master's teaching earlier, I felt I can open my heart a little. To be honest, I feel happier now.
Some people in distress are stuck in the dark, but Tzu Chi volunteers and Tima will break in to bring them hope and sunshine, giving them the warmest shoulder to rely on when they are feeling exhausted.
Antibiotics can be said to be the great discovery of mankind in the 20th century. It can effectively control the spread of certain epidemics. However, because of its overuse, it forces scientists to constantly develop new antibiotics to battle a greater variety of drug-resistant bacteria. The WHO long ago called on all countries to pay attention to the abuse of antibiotics. Taiwan is no exception. In addition to telling the public not to eat antibiotics on their own, we must follow a doctor's advice about the correct use of antibiotics.
你做一下，我们量一下耳温，35.1。
Third grader Youyi is sick with enterovirus and must do home quarantine.
今天第3天，应该说礼拜5就开始嘛，5、6日。
发烧。
哦，发烧，礼拜5是发烧，然后现在开始休3天。
Youyi's mother remembers very clearly the day her child got a fever as she took her to a local clinic.
When going to the clinic, her fever reached 40.5 degrees and the doctors thought she was infected with the virus, so it was a preventive dose of anti-inflammatory drugs and antibiotics. These are the antibiotics that I am talking about. I should eat them for 3 days and then go back to the clinic. The doctors say that lesions in her throat is confirmation that she has enterovirus, as she doesn't need to take antibiotics.
If someone has a fever, should they take antibiotics? Is this the correct treatment? The answer was even more complicated than you think.
The reason most antibiotics are prescribed is because the patient has a fever, but the fever is not necessarily controlled by antibiotics because a lot of fevers are actually caused by a cold virus. If you use antibiotics in this case, in fact, there's no way to control it.
Antibiotics are actually effective only on bacteria, but have been considered a panacea since the discovery in 1928. Especially in a modern society that emphasizes efficiency, the patients expect doctors to dispense the medicine that is prompt and effective. However, the relationship between doctors and patients often lacks trust, as antibiotics has easily become the go-to medication for doctors.
How do I know your condition needs antibiotics? I believe that 80% don't need it, so it isn't given as you only give it to the other 20%. However, sick people may worry about what happens to them. This is the dilemma the doctors face.
Tuberculosis, upper respiratory tract infections, allergies, sinusitis are likely to require antibiotics. Research in this area has found that now 1 out of every 2 children has allergies and 1 out of every 3 to 4 has asthma, which can increase the chance of getting sinusitis.
Standard sinusitis includes a week of yellow mucus in the nose, which means that the cold is soon better, but doctors may give antibiotics to treat it.
Here we can see payments from the National Health Insurance Bureau that in the past 5 years, the use of fluoroquinolones for treatment for sinusitis in hospitals or clinics have all risen by slightly more than 0.9%.
At the grassroots levels like small clinics, the proportion of antibiotics used is higher than Western ENT, as Taiwan currently uses more of these antibiotics.
Antibiotics, if used improperly, can cause bacteria-resistant superbugs.
This year, the WHO hosted a World Antibiotic Week from November 13 to 19. Main theme this year is that if you want to take medicine because you feel uncomfortable, you must seek the advice of a professional doctor. Therefore, we propose proper use antibiotic based upon a doctor's advice.
While scientists are working to extend the lives of mankind, bacteria are also undergoing rapid mutation in our bodies. This means that we could be exposed to more and more medicine-resistant superbugs in the future. In celebration of Lunar New Year, Tzu Chi Elementary School in Indonesia has held a bazaar. Besides performing at the Jingsi Hall, the students also held a charity sale of their toys, donating the proceeds to an orphanage. We'll leave you with these images at the end of our program. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye.